Alright, making a video. Decided to do it. Anyway, there's just so many weird things. Yeah, I just don't know. It's so hard to even deal with them. There's so many of them. I mean, the most recent one is kind of strange. What do you think about the YouTuber Sticks and Hammer 666 or whatever? I find him interesting. Greetings, the Swiss French guy. Now, he says he's the Swiss French guy, but it's hard for me to believe. But okay, let's say he is. Then he's now the Swiss French retarded guy, who, I really just, is one of my favorite people on earth, and apparently he has also become retarded in some way. I mean, this whole thing with this Trump thing is just so bizarre. Because, like I said, I couldn't hate Muslims. I mean, I really should be placed on some sort of watch list in Muslonia, because I despise Muslims so much. I mean, I just fucking goddamn, I hate religious cunts, all of them. And on the top of the hateable religious cunts list is fucking Islam. I mean, it's calling it a gutter religion you couldn't even know. It's sewage. It is raw sewage in a ditch religion. And everything about it is so fucking childish. So preposterously insane. I mean, it's bad enough that these gods people invented require us to be, kissing their ass, actually licking their anal holes. But Mohammed and God, their fucking God wants you to do it all fucking day long, bent over, so they can properly apply I mean, it just doesn't. It is just the stupidest fucking culture. I mean, I could not live 10 minutes in an Islamic country. You just have to go run and find the nearest sword store and, do yourself in. Well, anyway. So, obviously, I really like the idea of somebody in politics saying, Muslims suck. That appeals to me. Now, the downside is, right, the Clinton thing, she thinks she can fix this problem with some sort of regime change. Yeah. Really stupid, okay? I mean, really, really stupid. Now, whether it's her idea or this kook's idea, I mean, obviously this was an Obama thing, right? I mean, he got elected, and the first thing he said was, oh yeah, I'm going to end this Iraqi thing, but I'm going to plow right into Afghanistan and see if I can get into Pakistan too. I mean, you're just, what? Well, I thought we were going to quit doing this shit, and you're going to just do a whole bunch of new shit? And then, you have to give them credit. I mean, they did ruin Egypt and ruin Gaddafi's little paradise, rather inexpensively, but yeah, I mean, it was just ruined. I mean, they didn't successfully accomplish something, and whatever mess they're going to try to make in Syria. So I mean, they're doing something apparently anti some kind of Muslim, but I don't even know it's anti the right kind of Muslim. But regardless, and then, I'm just saying, so yes, so Trump says, yes, we don't need that shit. But what does he also say that is preposterously insane? We should steal the oil. He says that. He says shit that's stupid. Which is, you're just like, well, why, is there any point? I mean, he's already, just with that one statement alone, he's already undone any good that could be accomplished by just making us out to be the villain. I mean, just verifying the fact that we're villains, that everything we do is to, hurt and harm and take. None of it has anything to do with anything called a decent motivation. And he, it's just so many things. Like, you just go down the list of all of these trespasses against anything called reason. He boasted about snookering Gaddafi for a few $1,000. Yeah, he stole a couple of $1,000 from a dumb Muslim, and boasted about it. And this is what our billionaires do. Well, anyway, and this is what he does when he doesn't have power. It's just. I mean, like I said, you could just go on to the silly things he says. He doesn't understand how anything on this planet works. He talks about defaulting on the debt. His own economic plan is completely fucktarded. He doesn't know he doesn't even understand what the stock market is, right? I mean, he's a real estate guy. But I really think that, the thing too is if they ever did go through his tax returns, you'll probably find lots of insider trading in there. So if you want to find criminality, I'm sure you could find lots of that shit. But anyway, but he doesn't understand any of it, right? I mean, just the fact that even his suggestion that we'll just take all this overseas money, and he doesn't understand that that $2 trillion would come right out of the stock market, and that all the other rich people are invested in the stock market, and a lot of people who aren't rich, like all the pension holders, all the pension money's in the stock market. I mean, look, Bernie Sanders was just as retarded. I mean, you have to have a plan that somehow gets us to a better future in some sort of disciplined way. You can't be pulling $2 trillion out of anything immediately because, that ain't going to work. It's going to fail as a plan. But at the very same time, he would give, a $2 trillion tax break to the richest people in the world. And that's how he fixes our deficit problem. That's right, by reducing revenues by $2 trillion and then crashing the stock market. Yeah, that'll work. Well, anyway, so I mean, there's no policy from Trump. A wall? Does this make any sense to you idiots? I mean, really, you really think it's practical to build a wall that you have to put soldiers on, or your wall's useless? You think so? I mean, that's the rational way to spend our money, is building a fucking wall. Not a Hoover Dam, not something that actually makes energy or does something productive. A stupid fucking wall. I'm just saying, there's so many better ways to create reasonable, whatever you want to call it, immigration policy than resorting to something as silly as walls. Especially in this, I mean, I could just go through all the other, you just make people choose a different method, right? So if you force, if you don't allow people, you spend your $2 trillion on a wall. There's a huge Pacific Ocean. I don't know whether these people understand that, but Mexico has a border with us on the Pacific Ocean, and nobody owns the Pacific Ocean. Realistically, it wouldn't be much trouble at all for the Mexicans to become boat people, and and so you just change the port of entry. Is my point. But anyway, it's just so fucking stupid. Anyway. I don't want to make that the subject just because everything Trump says is stupid. He says things like, we're falling behind on the nuclear. First, it's inarticulate mush as a statement, and second, even if you fix his sentence and say, I think we've allowed too big a gap to be created in terms of our nuclear technology, and that we are not fulfilling our responsibility to create a sufficient deterrent to the use of nuclear weapons. It's preposterously inaccurate. There is no gap. We own nuclear on Earth. I mean, we're the king of nuclear on Earth. There's no Soviet Union. There's no, even China, isn't insane. So where's the gap threat? Where is it? Where's the mutual assured destruction gap? Where is it? Anyway, just insanely stupid. And his plan for ISIS is, I have a secret. I'm gonna sell them plastic tents that degrade, you know, in ultraviolet light. Yeah, they're going to be made of Chinese nylon, and other tents will fall down. Is that his plan? I don't know. He doesn't have a plan. Everybody knows he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have, and he didn't intend to be the president of the United States. It's quite obvious. I mean, he wouldn't have so preposterously lied about how rich he was if he knew he was going to be president. So he had no plan of even surviving the primaries. This whole thing is a joke on you dupes. And you're, you know, like I said, so as Sam Harris, this comes down to why I, Darwin's hamster, no longer respect Sam Harris. So if you listen to Sam Harris's arguments, you know, he's a little boring, but he makes an argument and he points it out and he says, look, I think Hillary is scum, but really she would have to become kind of a mass murdering zombie to be anywhere near as dangerous as Donald Trump. I might think that Sam Harris, even if I showed him that, yes, well, Hillary is going to, you know, she's going to eat 14 children, you know, in the next 4 years as president, I think he'd still say it's a better bet. Because Donald Trump will annihilate human beings. Human beings will be annihilated by Donald Trump's stupidity. He is a reckless, selfish, petty lunatic. And he's a lunatic because his lies are so preposterous. I mean, who could believe the Bible is his favorite book? Who can believe he's even read the fucking Bible? And who, in their right fucking mind, I mean, you're just saying, how can you people watch what Donald Trump has done and say this monstrosity should be anything, voted anything but somebody that should be run over by drunk drivers? If somebody has to be killed by a drunk driver, yes, it probably should be Donald Trump. I mean, he's a useless sack of shit. But to say that you know, Darwin's hamster has a physics degree and he's and a law degree, and is a concert violinist. You're saying, how could a person that has, you know, and he is, you know, he's made videos in the past that are, you would call them deep thinking kind of videos, and you know, he's in recent years, I mean, apparently there's a lot of this early onset, you know, dementia thing happening. You know, the modern mystic has basically torn his website down because somebody hurt his feelings. You know, and Darwin's hamster's become a truther, follower of Alex Jones and Stefan Molyneux, and I mean, it is, you know, and French guy is defending some wishy-washy, mush-talking libertarian who's accepting Trump because you know, his guy is too insane. His libertarian guy is too crazy, so he has to go for Trump. Trump, the guy who will put women in jail, right? The libertarian is for the guy who will put people in jail for having an abortion, right? Who said he will put a Rehnquistian, you know, a Scalia, on the Supreme Court. His first act. I'll find somebody as wacky as Scalia, somebody as backward thinking, as, you know, 16th century stupid on the Supreme Court. And, you know, like I said, this is Darwin's hamster. He has a law degree. He's probably read, you know, a lot of decisions. I mean, I've read a lot of decisions. I mean, I really enjoyed my whatever, my thing with the legal system, in the sense of, you know, you had to learn what the law was, and so you had to read decisions and read how the system works, and it is quite amazing that, like, before 50, even 1960, court decisions were brilliantly written, and then they just turned into tripe, and it's just kind of amazing. You can just see how the law just disappeared. The principles just fell apart, just kind of amazing. Well, anyway, but that's a whole nother subject. But Donald Trump, I mean, he stands for no law. He stands for nothing called integrity or honesty. I mean, not even the tiniest bit close. I mean, just by rational deduction, you know, it's quite obvious he has very few billions, if any. Because he only had 2 when he went bankrupt. And he lost $1 billion. And since that time, he hasn't paid any federal tax, income tax, which means he couldn't have possibly made enough income to have more than $1 billion worth of added income. You get me? I mean, he's basically taken a $1 billion deferment, which means that he hasn't still, to this date, made back the money he lost. That's what he's claiming in his tax returns. I haven't made the money back. So how could he possibly be worth $9 billion? I mean, it's just a preposterous fucking lie. And clearly, somebody with $9 billion, would you expect them? Well, let's say he had 6 10 years ago when he snookered Gaddafi for a couple of $1,000. Can you imagine somebody with $6 billion screwing over a leader of a country who's speaking at the UN so he can make a couple of $1,000? I'm just saying. I mean, there, like I said, you know, so Sam Harris, he's very articulate, goes through the whole thing. But I mean, look, his bottom line point is that Donald Trump is an imbecile, and he's a psychotic lunatic. His ego is all there is. There's no reasoning skills whatsoever. He has no, he can't keep, like if Donald Trump played chess, you know, he wouldn't even be able to remember how the pieces move. I mean, he can't keep more than 4 blocks in his brain at a time. There's just no way. He can't see, there's no way. Anything with moving parts, he's lost. He's gone. The brain can't any kind of task, let alone multitask. And you can just see it. You can just see it in his, you know, he can't, he just rambles in the silliest, most preposterous way, and then he says something completely stupid, and he then just tries to rationalize it. And it's just complete crap. I'm sure that's how he fell into saying, well, let's just default on the debt, because he said something stupid previous to that, and then he had to defend the stupid thing by saying something even stupider. I mean, fuck. So I'm just saying, he's so petty. So I mean, you could just imagine that he could have the FBI out killing people because they publicly you know, reveal his hair transplant or something, you know, or do something. I mean, he is a psychotic lunatic. And so there's no argument. You can go on and on for, oh, well, Hillary's so corrupt and she's stealing money and they're putting money in that foundation thing and blah blah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the whole thing looks dirty and smelly. The whole Clinton let's get rich after being president is just disgusting and grotesque. I mean, you know, quite pukable. And like I said, this whole, she's a murdering, psychotic lunatic in the sense that there was no reason to kill Gaddafi. As, you know, when he was already out of power. I mean, it was just gratuitous. It was a fucking murder. Lots of reasons to doubt that she has any reasonable motives in the political sense. But it's in the political sense. I mean, it's still in a world where the people around her are nothing like Sarah Palin. And then if you want to go for somebody who has all of those political dirty tricks kind of stuff, I mean, Chris Christie. You want Chris Christie in charge of Social Security or something? Maybe he'd put Chris Christie on the Supreme Court. Can you believe it? That might be a Donald Trump. Yes, he might be the man. Chris Christie on the Supreme Court. Yes. I mean, I'm just saying, people who don't know. I mean, you know, maybe you people could fall for this, but I'm just saying the guy's another guy with this huge ego, always defending his football triumphs in his youth or something, still, you know, just desperate to maintain some sort of image of being a man. It's like Giuliani or something. It's just such a joke. I mean, you know, anybody who's lived near New York, I mean, Giuliani failed so preposterously, and then 2 buildings blow up in his city, and he's somehow a hero because one of the bricks didn't fall on him. But that's all he accomplished. I mean, he didn't do a fucking thing. He's an expert at nothing. He failed at everything he ever touched, just like the Donald. I mean, yeah. So I'm just saying, all because these people hate Muslims. And like I said, I mean, I don't nearly hate Muslim. I don't nearly dislike Mexican immigration or South American immigration as much as I despise Islamic fucking wear your scarfy kind of pukers. I just can't stand the bastards. Okay, the Muslim shit. I mean, it's just it's just scum. I mean, if you want to come here and be an Arab, an atheist Arab, okay, I love you. But yeah, that culture is just too fucking queer and stupid. I mean, they're fucking goddamn. I'd rather live with drooling aliens, right? I'd rather than fucking Islamic fucktards. Yeah. But like I said, when I start thinking about the Catholic element, you know, the South American Catholic crap just really pisses me off. So if I start thinking enough about that, then I start, okay, they might be as bad as Muslims. But regardless, I'm just saying I am full of hate. And I still just can't even imagine saying, okay, just to gratify my petty hate of these stupid fucktard cultures that we're allowing to degrade our civilization. And that's just fucking wrong. You fix it with a real candidate. You don't fix it with a lunatic. Just because a fucking lunatic is wearing the I Hate Mohammed t-shirt, I mean, it just isn't good enough. You gotta put a man in the suit. You gotta have something, you gotta have something that isn't an insane, fucking, crazy fuck. I mean, he's insane. And that's what basically Sam Harris is saying. He's insane. I mean, he even resorted to saying he'd rather have pull a name, any old American out of the hat would be better than Donald Trump. And I don't know if I would go that far because, yeah, most people are really dumb. As this all demonstrates. I mean, the very fact that so many of these NASCAR lunatics, you know, can fall for this absolute crap. I mean, a billionaire who doesn't pay federal taxes, who isn't really a billionaire, and who only basically just screws people. And that's what he feels proud about, is that I've made a lot of money screwing people. I mean, he's basically a poster child for exactly what's wrong with capitalism, and these people are saying, look how brilliant that is. I mean, those are scary fuckers, I gotta tell you. So, you know, DarwinsHamster, you know, who cares about this respect thing? I think you're a scary fucker. Yeah, that's what I think. He actually made a comment that was scary. I mean, where you just get the scary fucker feeling. You are becoming a scary fucker. We may be seeing a turning point, and if I have my way, we will never let them forget what they did to us. What? You know, well, what is that? Not just now, but for decades in the past. Wow. What is that? So yeah, and even this stuff here, you know, the Trump being a racist or a bigot. I think it doesn't really matter. I mean, Trump doesn't think anybody else is worthy. That's why he doesn't have anything called a genuine friend. So, I mean, I think he thinks we're all, you know, niggers, from his perspective. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just kind of funny because they talk like, there's no evidence. No, he was sued, okay, and he paid a settlement, okay, to evade having like I said, if somebody accused you of being a racist, what would you do? It costs you absolutely nothing to say, prove it. Okay, to say prove it in court doesn't cost you a thing. It really doesn't cost you anything. And if you have lots of money, maybe you'll spend a little bit of money to have an investigator do a little bit of investigating and find out how they could possibly have any kind of evidence that I ever did any of this shit. But what he knows clearly is that they did have the evidence. The state's case was a strong case because they had the demographic evidence of, well, it's not possible for you to accidentally fall 95%, okay, opposed to the norms for the area. So, if you have a building and you got 768 clients living in it or renters, and none of them are black, yeah, it's going to be hard to explain how that just accidentally happened. That there wasn't some profiling happening. So, yeah, clearly. But anyway, no point talking to these idiots, I suppose. But it just demonstrates how, wow, the world is a-changin'. And these stark differences, they're so stark now that it's not like it's just black and white. It's not like it's just liberal and conservative or Democrat and Republican. Now we've all splintered off, and there's like all of these subsets of completely incompatible ideologies. I mean, just so viscerally. I mean, there's no way I could stand your presence in my company. You have said or defended things that are so fucking stupid. I mean, this lack of respect, that's what it comes down to. So why I, DarwinsHamster, no longer respect Sam Harris. Well, I'm sure Sam Harris has the same misgivings about you. I'm sure he's just as suspect whether you deserve any respect, whether he would let you control or take responsibility for any function, because clearly your capacity to judge character or integrity or right and wrong, or even just recognize the difference between, a cactus and a radioactive pile of nuclear waste. Like, yes, they're both a threat, but very different kinds of threats. Yeah, cactuses are annoying in the wrong place, but yeah, nuclear waste is a little bit bigger a problem. But anyway. So, I guess that's all I'll say. I mean, so he posted this video because this guy's saying exactly what DarwinsHamster feels needs to be said. Well, anyway, so you're 5 minutes and 32 in here, and this guy hasn't said a damn thing. What he did is quote mine Sam Harris's 15 minutes, and obviously Sam Harris has done more than 15 minutes, actually. He's done extensive commentary on Trump and why he thinks he is a psychopath, and it's quite reasonable. There's nothing unreasonable in his explanation, and he's pointed out that yes, Hillary is a sack of shit, but it just can't. It's cactus and radioactive waste. You can't compare these two sacks of shit. They're just completely different degree of shittiness, and he explains why he sees this huge difference in the shittiness. And this guy just talks like there was no other part of Sam Harris's video. Our commentary beyond saying Donald Trump's hair is funny. Oh, and by the way, yeah, Sam Harris didn't say that. It's not ad hominem attack when you say somebody's unrespectable, when you say somebody's a lunatic, when you say somebody is crazy. That's not an ad hominem attack if you defend it, and that's what he did. He defended the fact that nobody but an insane person, okay, says the things that Donald Trump has publicly said. Anyway, and clearly a statement like this, I no longer respect. Well, what's the difference between saying I no longer respect and saying Sam Harris is unrespectable? Is that an ad hominem attack? So if Sam Harris said Donald Trump is unrespectable. That would be ad hominem attack. No, I don't think so. So anyway, I'll play some of this. Just I stopped. I mean, it's the kind of video where it's so pathetic that you can't even watch it. It's so stupid. So it's, like I said, 5 minutes in. All he's done is quote mine Sam Harris, little tiny sound bites where Sam Harris was using the, where he's putting the period on the sentence. Donald Trump is insane. And instead of playing the part where Sam Harris explains all that, no, he just goes right over it. And the funny part is he actually did play a clip where Sam Harris is basically saying, look, I hate Hillary. If you want to read what I think she should be doing in the Middle East, I wrote a blog. He does all that. And then the guy complains that the guy's not ragging on Hillary Clinton enough. Well, the point is he's talking about Trump. He's not talking about Hillary. He's talking about why Trump's insane and explaining that. And explaining why Hillary's an asshole doesn't explain why Trump's insane. You see? They're just separate subjects. Idiot.
Pretty confused here, Sam. Didn't he just make a point that you agree with? And he strikes me as completely rudderless intellectually. You want to understand how I see Trump? Blow up a balloon without tying off the end, and hold it up high, and then release it, and then watch it fly chaotically around the room.
Right, and he just gave examples. So Sam Harris gave examples of Trump saying things. He quoted them. He actually read things Trump said to demonstrate how he's basically just rhyming. He pointed out that it's like somebody rhyming, making a poem. And now he's just looking for words that rhyme with crime, with and it just says. And once he talks his way into a corner, then he says even more shit to try to justify why he's in the corner.
That's Trump's mind. So this is a meaningless statement. Sam again attacked...
Well, see, he's saying it's a meaningless statement, but it's not a meaningless statement in the context of quoting Trump doing exactly that. Basically talking... he played Sam Harris played the clip of Trump talking about states with borders and how we have to do the border thing in the primary. And how it was just like you couldn't like, what are you talking about? We have to get rid of the borders. What do you mean? What borders are in the way exactly? Are there state National Guard on all the highways between the states? I mean, how exactly is this interstate commerce not taking place that Trump thinks we have to improve? Right? I'm just saying that he obviously painted himself into some kind of bizarre corner where he thought for a minute, Trump, that somehow there were walls around all the states or something. We need to tear down the walls to have more commerce between the states. That'll make us all rich. If we're able to screw each other in I don't know, maybe that's part of what Trump was thinking. It's just I need more gamblers to have come to my casino. So it was the walls around Atlantic City that were the problem somehow. I don't know what he was. I'm just saying he gave examples, you asshole. I mean, fuck, this is just so bogus, this quote mining. So again, how am I supposed to respect you, Darwin's hamster? It's supposed to be some kind of fair cop, right? You were nominated to be a judge, right? This guy was nominated, I mean, he was put up to be a judge. And, obviously, fortunately, in my opinion, he didn't make it, because obviously he has no fucking intellectual honesty. How could he think this was this is an honest presentation of Sam Harris's presentation? This is a hatchet job, and that's all it is. It just quote mines and doesn't say a single thing to counter the point being made, which is Trump is an idiot. Now, instead of pointing out how Trump isn't an idiot, which this guy should be doing, is showing us how can you think somebody who has such a brilliant idea as could be an idiot. That's what he needs to do, right? So why don't you just explain to me how another huge tax cut for the richest people in the world who have gotten preposterously richer over the last 40 years, why don't you explain how they need to be richer, because if they're richer, we'll be richer. Why don't you explain how that will work? They've never been richer than they've ever been, so how come the richness that they already have hasn't made any of us any richer? How come?
Trump and compares his mind to a balloon being deflated and flying around a room. Now, you could actually do this with Hillary. You could just edit that statement and make it sound like
Well, I'm just saying, go ahead and try to do that. Why don't you do that with any of the debate material? Because frankly, Hillary's got a pretty prepared rhetoric. I mean, she's a machine. She's a political machine. All right, so she doesn't do exactly what Sam Harris is saying. Hillary Clinton, he even says it. He even describes her as being too cautious and too I don't know what the word was, but too programmed, too designing almost. So yes, her performance is almost the exact opposite. It's the balloon is on strings and it's guaranteed to go in certain directions. No, it will not vary off the tied chords. You could make that analogy. So it's exactly the opposite condition that these two candidates have. One is controlled by a political machine and agenda. One is controlled by nothing but the random thoughts of a guy who is a fucking sociopathic, psychotic, egomaniacal, stupid fuck.
Sam was saying it about Hillary if you wanted to. This could be leveled at anyone you disagree with, actually.
Well, actually it can't. That's the whole point. His examples were that he even gave examples like somebody like Hitchens. He talks about him later. Articulate. The words are always well organized. Even Sam Harris could use himself as an example. The fact that he can talk extemporaneously, this kind of stuff, on the spot, and that he'll always have very thoughtful, he'll have very well constructed sentences, the vocabulary will be used right, the context will be recognized, it'll be very well structured and coherent. Sam Harris is never going to say something like, we need more nuclear. We're falling behind in nuclear. That won't happen to Sam Harris because he's got an organized brain. The whole point is that Donald Trump's brain has no organization in it. He compared him to a 9-year-old, right? He's like a 9-year-old. Think back to when you're 9 years old. I mean, it is a little bit like, I want to play truck. I want, and that is Donald Trump. Donald Trump has no vision thing. He is living in the moment, and he's completely like a little insecure kid who can't get his way. He puts on his little pouty face and that's all he is. He's a fucking child.
So it's a complete generalization. You want to talk about the random flying pattern of a deflating balloon. Sam?
No, he talked about the random nonsense that comes out of Trump's mouth, like we should have just stolen the oil, and nonsense comments like we should default on the debt. His point is that his balloon goes to places that are insipidly stupid, that there's no way you can defend where the balloon went.
You're not even staying on point here. This isn't an argument, it's an attack. My criticism of Trump,
I mean, it's just laughable, okay? So for DarwinsHamster, like I said, for him to think this is an argument exposing Sam Harris as being unfair or undisciplined or tacky or cheap in his attack on Donald Trump. There was nothing cheap in his attack on Donald Trump. It was a sincerely spoken statement regarding the fact that he doesn't think the United States of America should be run by a complete imbecile, a fool who has never been able to construct a paragraph of articulate, substantive, English conceptual ideas, or something like that.
in particular about the way he speaks, and what that says about the way he thinks, which I went on and on about in podcast 38.
Exactly. So this guy just critiqued him. Now he plays Sam Harris, and Sam Harris actually did do that. He actually defended the argument that here are examples of common behavior performed by Donald Trump that is clear evidence of a person who hasn't thought about what he is saying.
That criticism isn't political. It's psychological. It's neurological. The guy seems to be bullshitting to a degree that borders on confabulation. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't have any clinical experience. I'm not making a diagnosis. But I am making a judgment about him as a person.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care.
Yeah, a personal attack as opposed to engaging with Trump's argument.
Well, again, what Trump argument is there to engage with, for fuck's sake? So again, point out the argument that the rich aren't rich enough. Okay, I think that's about as preposterous as you can get as a fucking theory. Okay, the idea that the corporations are hiding a bunch of money in their investments in other countries and we should tax their profits made in other countries as if they made them in this country. So that's your theory, right? Let's see, what else can so all you have is build a wall. Now, there's so many ways to talk about what a preposterous waste of money building a wall is. So why don't you explain to me why Trump thinks sanctions would be too horrendous, too violent, too horrific a policy. So sanctions, having real Social Security numbers and sanctions, how that strategy, if you were going to prevent immigration, if you were going to stop people from being employed, which would be a logical way to prevent immigration, why that policy that would cost next to nothing is somehow so horrific that it would be worth doing the alternative of spending $2 trillion just to build a wall, and then you're going to have to spend billions every year to maintain the guards on the wall.
And political positions. The fact that Trump is anti-political correctness, against TTIP, against global...
He's against anything reasonable, right. He's against everything and for nonsense. What is he for? Explain again. He has no policy. He defines nothing, and all he does is give you silly suggestions like, I might default on the debt, or I might try to steal oil from the Arabs. But what exactly as a policy is there? There is none. There's nothing to argue with because he doesn't say anything. We need to get rid of the borders around the states. How do you argue something that's insanely stupid and insipid? How do I actually counter-argue the theory that if we get rid of the borders around the states, we're all going to get filthy rich?
Listen, was against Obama handing over ICANN, for example. And oh yeah, something else you won't bring up. I get
like ICANN could possibly matter when it was already sold out 15 years ago when they basically commercialized the entire process. They gave it to GoDaddy and they gave it to all the other domain name registrars. So the only thing left is 4 computers, and yeah, they decided who cares who owns them because we can replace them anytime we want. It's meaningless in a sense.
Against war with Russia.
I don't know, Putin. I think it would be great if we got along with Russia because we could fight ISIS together as an example, but I don't know, Putin.
Hillary, on the other hand, seems ready to begin an unnecessary and potentially, probably inevitably, nuclear conflict with...
Right, inevitably a nuclear conflict. Okay, so that's your theory. Okay, fine. I don't think Hillary has any intention of having a nuclear war with Russia, but whatever. I'll share your opinion that giving a shit about this Syria shit is stupid shit. Okay, now the fact that Russia has an interest because all of these fucking loony Muslims are on their border, that makes sense. And I remember how hysterical we got when Russia put missiles in Cuba. We're just fucking hypocrites. It's the hypocrisy of it all. Yes, there is just huge hypocrisy. So yeah, us fucking around in Syria, we don't belong there. That's for fucking sure. But again, what's Donald Trump going to do about Islamic fundamentalism? He has no plan. We're just going to kill. I'm going to kill them all with my special, golden Trump bombs. How many children and wives and whatnot have we killed already? And we're just, you think Trump's going to care about collateral damage? Give me a break.
Putin.
Russia's hacked into a lot of things. China's hacked into a lot of things. Russia even hacked into the Democratic National Committee. So we've got to step up our game. Make sure we are well defended and able to take the fight to those who go after us. As president, I will make it clear.
Oh, so again, this is about Donald Trump, and again, this guy's changing the subject to Hillary Clinton. So let's understand, Sam Harris made the point. I don't like this stupid cunt. I don't like this bitch at all. But he basically said that she could basically, is short of her feeding, killing babies at events and eating them, yeah, it's better than the reckless insanity of Trump. So that's his point. But again, this is just changing the fucking subject. So let me go back to the Trump stuff.
Like how Trump talks. I don't care if Trump has an ego, Sam. I don't care if he's full of himself. I'm okay with that because...
Right, and you don't care if that full of himself means that he compulsively lies. Compulsive lies are okay with you, and especially about things that are almost sacred, like his lie that the Bible's his favorite book. Okay, his change of opinion in the last 4 years on the subject of abortion, from pro-choice to put women in jail. That's okay with you. That kind of bizarre vacillation is okily dokily. That's a sign of a guy who knows what he's doing.
As I'm not petty, so long as he addresses the issues that concern me.
Right, and addresses them how? Get rid of that border around them states, and we need to make the rich richer. Yeah, brilliant. And yeah, I'm not going to fix any of the tax code. That's not, I like it the way it is. It works for me.
I don't care. Here's the difference between Clinton and Trump, in my view. When I hear Clinton speak extemporaneously, I hear someone who is well-informed, who's trying to be coherent.
We need to make what we've got work really well and improve it and get the costs out of an upward spiral and get the costs out of an upward spiral.
Right. So that was his injection of a Hillary moment. Okay, and Sam presented his argument against Trump. So again, if that's the point is if you're saying over the collected speeches of all Donald Trump speeches, all of Hillary Clinton speeches, all their performances at the debate, you think Darwin's hamster. Darwin's hamster thinks that if you collected all those things, Hillary's going to sound just like Donald Trump. That they're going to articulate their perspective and their point of view and what they wish to accomplish with the same eloquence. So the fact that Hillary once in a while sounds like Donald Trump, and maybe once in a while Donald Trump sounds like Hillary Clinton en masse, somehow Darwin's hamster says they're the same. Yeah, right. They're equally stupid.
When I hear Trump speak extemporaneously, I hear someone very often getting prompted by his own misstatements to complete a thought in a way that he clearly didn't intend to.
Ask yourself, what's different about Sam's arguments against Trump in favor of Hillary and Casey Neistat's position?
I'm not a huge fan of her stale politics. Yeah. I'm entirely aware of all the criticism against her. I'm aware of all of her failures and shortcomings.
They're both making the same...
Who's that guy? So again, I mean, it's just so way off subject. Somehow Sam Harris is wrong because some wacky guy just said some wacky shit.
Arguments from the same perspective. Hillary is terrible. I acknowledge all of her problems. I won't get substantial on them. But she's not Trump, you know? Trump is always worse no matter what. As I've mentioned before, we're in a very politically divisive and dangerous time right now. Because people have become staunchly entrenched in their positions, either way, to an unflinchingly dogmatic degree.
Well, yeah, and what are you defending? Again, you're defending basically a bigot who wants to act on his personal bigotry. He doesn't have any argument for why Islam is bad. He doesn't point out that, well, religion basically is ignorance right there, and this is like ignorance compounded, because it's not only a religion, but it's a colossally stupid religion. Did he have the balls to say that, or even the brain to say that? No. So there's a big fucking difference.
No matter what Julian Assange comes out with next, no matter what WikiLeaks bombshell emerges...
Well, again, they're not really bombshells, okay? I mean, the fact that Hillary Clinton would say politicians have a personal perspective and then they have a public platform. Newsflash. Fact. Every single one of them does that. Every single human on Earth has a personal perspective and a perspective they use when they attempt to argue for something. Everyone does it. So that is to her credit that she would have the honesty to say that.
It's about Hillary. It will never be enough to make her supporters change their minds. And clearly, as you'll see here...
Well, again, it's not Hillary support. You still don't get it, asshole. The real point is that Donald Trump is in fact a crazy, psychotic, selfish, childish, petty lunatic. That's the subject, shithead. And the fact that you won't acknowledge that or recognize that and you pretend to think that he is something other than exactly that, an imbecile and a lunatic, is bad on you. Yeah, that's all that can be said. You're pretty fucking stupid not to be able to diagnose that fucking disease. Donald Trump is as easy to notice as a 400-pound tumor. His stupidity is that glaring. His ignorance on subjects is that glaring. His compulsive lying is that glaring.
It will never be enough to make Sam change his mind. That is not the thinking of a skeptic or a scientist. When you have
No, it is, exactly. He points it, like I said, he can't make it any clearer. He's not saying this shit because he likes Hillary. He's saying Donald Trump is a fucking lunatic. Right, there's no point in me re-emphasizing it. And I think he's quite correct to recognize the tumor, okay? Donald Trump is an